friends, how's it going? It's me, Betty Jean. Today's video is a continuation of my top 10 series. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 favorite highlighters. I have a mixture here. I have a couple liquids, a couple that have a little bit more of like that putty texture, some are powders. I just gathered my top 10 favorites. I decided not to do a separate liquid and powder video just because I only have 2 liquids that I consider favorites anyway, so I figured I would just bundle everything together and give you my thoughts as to why things are my favorite. I've really been enjoying bringing back this series and just going over various parts of my makeup collection and talking about my top 10 in any given category. I've already posted a few over the last month and a half or so if you want to go check those out, and there are more to come. I'm about to start diving into my favorite lips, and then of course the grand finale of eyeshadow palettes will be upon us as well. Before we hop into it, I did of course film this look. It should already be up on my Instagram and YouTube shorts by the time this video goes up. So yeah, without further ado, let's just hop in and talk about my top 10 favorite highlighters. Kicking it off, I'm going to be talking about my liquids first just because while I do have 2 that I consider to be favorites in my collection, liquid highlighter is still like not my #1 go-to. I do tend to use a powder for the majority of my highlighting. The way I like to use liquid highlighter for the most part anyways is usually in conjunction with my liquid blushes. I'll usually do like a dot of my liquid blush and then like a little dot of my liquid highlight and kind of melt everything together. One of the liquids I'm going to talk about is like so show-stopping that I can kind of use it by itself and it is unbelievable, but I still just don't gravitate toward that formula for my main highlighting first, so that's why they are in the bottom. But this is a top 10, so these are obviously very well loved. Number 10, I'm giving to my tried and true Rare Beauty Enlighten Liquid Highlighter. I love this. I actually used it today while I blended out my liquid blush, but it is so pretty. Just look at that color. So shiny, just like the most perfect champagne-y shade. It is so good. My qualm most of the time with liquid highlighters is a lot of the time they're very subtle or they move my makeup around. This does not do either. Is it like crazy sparkly? No, but it is a more bright sort of beaming highlighter. It's going to give you that smooth, beautiful glow. Like I said, it mixes really nice in with like blushes and stuff like that. If you want more of a glowy liquid blush, it works flawlessly. Such a nice lightweight formula. This is great. And number 9 is going to be the other liquid highlighter. This is from the Lethal and Dexter collection. This is a more recent favorite, really a more recent discovery, but it is absolutely mind-blowing. This is in the shade Luminol. You just pump out a tiny bit like that, and then you can just blend it onto the skin. Look at that. That's crazy. It's so sparkly and otherworldly and just such a cool highlighter, such a beautiful, brilliant shift. Unbelievable. It is so pigmented and it blends out so well. It doesn't move my makeup around. It is so show-stopping. I really hope Lethal continues to play around with this formula. I would love to see this expanded upon in the future. Moving on, getting into more of my powder compacts. And by the way, these are only just like individual single highlighters. I didn't really dive into highlighter palettes. I wanted to specifically talk about things that are in single individual compacts. So in case you think I'm forgetting something that I may have included, like I love the Blend Betty Noctilucent highlighter palette. That would be the honorable mention of the video, I suppose. Such a good one. I don't even know if it's available anymore. If it is, now's the time to snag it. But this is just single specific highlighters. And I also did continue the trend of not repeating formulas. I've done that in the last couple videos, especially with like blushes and stuff like that. Like there were multiple occurrences with the blush where I could have talked about the same formula like 4, 5, 6 times just in different colors. And I didn't want to be repetitive in that way. I more so just wanted to focus on like my top 10 favorite formulas. And then if I have multiples in that formula, give you my favorite color in each one. So I repeated that here. There are a couple things in here that I do have multiples of, but I wanted to keep it specific to just one formula. And then I'll just shout out my favorite color. Anyways, that's not even relevant to number 8. I only have 1 in this formula, but this is one of the Sigma Beauty highlighters. This one specifically is in the shade Moonbeam. So pretty. These are really nice, just smooth, glowy highlighters. If you're someone who doesn't want a crazy colorful shift or you don't want sparkle or anything like that, you just want a smooth glow, this is going to be the one for you. Wow, that looks really subtle compared to Luminol right next to it, doesn't it? But it's just a very soft, pretty, I feel like it still gives you a nice beaming glow, but without it looking sparkly. And I do love a sparkly highlighter. It is my go-to, but this is really pretty. I've used it countless times over the last few years, and I just felt like I had to include it in this video. I feel like it's a really good go-to when I really don't know what to wear. Maybe I do just want something a little bit softer and I want another part of my makeup to be the star of the show. This is a really good one to go for that. Moving on to number 7, moving on to something a little more weird. I have the fruit lighters from Clionadh. These fruit lighters are so cool. I think they came out with literally like 8 shades or something. I have 4 of them. My favorite is Sour. Sour is such a good shade. Just like the most beautiful, sparkly, metallic green. Look how pretty that is. So gorgeous. I love the tone. I love the sparkle. I love how, even though it is a color and it's sparkly, it's still so smooth looking on the skin. Like it somehow manages to still sink into the skin and just look really balanced while still being something kind of weird and impactful, because these fruit lighters come in such an arrangement of like funky colors. Like I have a pink, a purple, a reddish one, which was almost my pick, honestly, because it's so pretty. I believe they have like an orange, a yellow, like they have so many different fun colors and they're all fruit themed, but just such a beautiful formula. Smooth, but still sparkly. Moving on to number 6, I really need to use this one more. It's been one of my favorites for years, but I do this thing sometimes with favorites, especially things that aren't available anymore, where I get nervous to use it because I don't want to ever be without it, but that's also wasteful to just not use the thing. So I need to use this more. I have picked this up, I think, once or twice already this year, and I need to actively use it more because it's just so pretty. Like I said, I don't think this one's available anymore. I will link everything that I can down below for you, but this is more so just a way to showcase what's in my collection and what are my favorites, and maybe to inspire you to dig through your collection. But number 6 is the BPerfect Cosmetics Get Wet Highlighter in the shade Skin Sheen. So unbelievably beautiful. This is one of those more putty texture highlighters. It is so unbelievably sparkly. Look at that. That sparkle, are you kidding? It does have a bit more of that creamy putty texture, but I still honestly use this just like any other powder. Like I just go in with whatever highlighter brush I'm leaning toward in the moment. I just dip it in, rub it on the cheeks. I don't have to like play with this any special way or treat it like a cream. I feel like it still just melts into the skin like any other powder highlight, but it has more of that bouncy texture. It's so pretty, like just so unbelievably sparkly, especially when you're in like low light or sunlight. It is just so enchanting. It's so pretty. This one in particular does have a little teeny bit of a seafoam shift, but it's mostly just like a glossy, sparkly highlight. It is so beautiful. Moving on to the top 5. Most of these have been tried and true favorites for a long time. One is actually a very recent discovery, but it quickly crept up to being a top favorite because it's just too good, but I will get to that. Moving on to number 5 is a longtime favorite. These are the ColourPop Super Shock highlighters. I almost talked about Flexitarian because that one's been in my collection for years. I've gone through many of them, but honestly, Seismic is my favorite out of the Super Shock highlighters. It's so pretty. Again, this has a little bit of that glossy texture, but it's not gonna be as sparkly as the BPerfect one. Now, I will say, Seismic does have a bit more sparkle to it than Flexitarian does. I feel like Flexitarian is just a beaming metallic highlight on the cheeks. This one has like the teeniest little bit of twinkle in there, but it's so pretty. Just like a soft, kind of vanilla champagne color. I've just loved this in my collection for too many years not to include it in the top 10. And honestly, it's still one that I gravitate toward. Like, can you see the amount of pan that's in here? I'm not a project panner by any means because I feel like I will start to get sick of things if I force myself to use them all the time, but this may be one I should work on maybe getting some more pan out of because it's just so pretty. It always looks so good. It's smooth and beautiful. And even though there are those little bit of twinkles in there, it doesn't look like chunky glitter. Really, to me, none of these look like chunky glitter, but I also like a sparkle on my cheek. But this one does have a bit more of that smooth metallic base. Moving on to number 4, the Kido Space Age highlighters are so cool. I've loved these for years, but my top favorite has to be Gifted. I almost talked about Moon Cruiser because that one is just so unreal, and also Laser Glazer, obviously forever missed. But Gifted is honestly one that I just gravitate towards so much nowadays. It's so strong. It is a multi-chrome highlighter, so there are a lot of colors going on in this. It goes almost from like a pink to a green. It's so show-stopping, so otherworldly, so beautiful. Again, it has like those teeny little bits of sparkle in there, but I don't feel like it looks like glitter. It just looks like shifty magic. Every time I wear this, I get so many compliments. These are just some of the coolest, most unique highlighters that I have. They are so pretty, so special, and Gifted specifically is one that really means a lot to me. Moving on to number 3, the top 3 were honestly, I was so certain what the top 3 were before I even was planning this video out. Number 3, I'm giving to one of my Odin's Eye Soul Mane highlighters. I love these highlighters. I think over the years they've come out with, I don't know, probably like 8 or 9 of them. They aren't all available anymore. Unfortunately, Odin's Eye, why do you do this? Why do you discontinue the good things? But if this one's still available, I will link it down below for you. This is my favorite one. This one's in the shade Moon Tears, and it's just so unbelievably special. This one is gonna have that sparkle metallic moment. It is a powder highlighter, but it looks so wet. Look at that impact. It is so pretty. The color is so cool. It's almost like it has a little bit of a taupey base, but with a brilliant like aqua sheen through it, very icy, but not in like a silver way. It's just such a cool highlighter. They have so many pretty colors depending on what's available nowadays still, but they've come out with such a range of shifty, pretty, special highlighters. And this one has always been the one that has stuck out to me the most. It is so beautiful, so special. I love this formula. It's so, so pretty. And something about this particular shade, like the sparkle, was on another level. Moving on to number 2 is actually what I'm wearing today. This is one that actually became a very recent favorite. It only came out like a month ago, if that, but when I tell you this is just pretty much anything that I want a highlighter to be, I mean it with my entire soul. Beaute Bar came out with highlighters with their Morally Grey collection, and the Skin of a Killer one is perfect. I love it so much. The Twilight reference, the heart-shaped pan, the color, the sparkle, everything about it is just so cool. This is another one where it is very much a powder, but it looks so sparkly, wet, metallic. It is so pretty. Look at that. It's literally like diamonds. How long have you been 17? It's just so pretty, so special, so sparkly. I love this wet, dewy, sparkly, diamond effect looking highlighter. It's just my favorite type of thing to wear. It's so, so good. And from the moment I tried this on, I was like, this is a new favorite. Like, there's just something so special about it. The way the formula sits, the way it feels, the way it just applies, like everything about it is so good. I love the color. I love that icy, pearly, diamondy reflect. It's just amazing, and I'm obsessed. It became such a fast favorite. And of course, moving on to number 1, if you've been a part of my channel for years, I don't think my number 1 will surprise you because it's been my favorite highlighter for years now, and I don't see that ever changing. It is my Fenty How Many Carats Diamond Balm. I just never get sick of this. It's so good. Mine is so old, so beat up. One day I will replace it, but I just feel like it's still working. Why would I replace it when it still works just fine? But again, this is another one with that like kind of soft sort of putty texture. This one is a bit more, it's a different vibe than like the last 2 that I've talked about where it has kind of that sparkly diamondy look. This does have a little bit more of that putty texture, but this doesn't have any base to it. It is completely clear and you just have twinkly diamonds that shine in the light, in the sun, under low light. It is so pretty. This is honestly one of those ones that's kind of hard to swatch because I feel like swatches just don't do this one justice, but I will try. Oh yeah, you can see like how these have very vivid bases to them, and then right here is just pure sparkle. That is the Fenty highlight. If you just want to look like you've bathed in diamonds and it just looks like you're radiating glow, this is the one. Like, it's just so perfect. I've reached for this highlighter more times than I can count. I pretty much always travel with it. It's just such a good go-to. It fits any vibe that I'm going for. I love sparkle. I've used it topped over eyeshadow if I want a little extra spice to the look. I just love it. It's just perfect. Just that flash of sparkle going through. Actually, let's do something fun. Let's put my flashlight on my hand right now. It's just so pretty, so magical. I could look at these sparkly powders all day. I feel like over the years, the highlighter trend has definitely died down. There was a period of time back in 2016, 2017, where we all wanted to be seen from outer space. I never lost that. I still love highlighter. I think it is so fun. I feel like it's just the perfect cherry on top. Eyeshadow is my favorite part of makeup, Blush is a close second, and I feel like highlighter just ties blush together so well. It just adds that extra bit of radiance. I think it looks so cute. Again, I love the sparkle. I love feeling like a little fairy. It's just the best, and these are my favorites. I would love to hear your thoughts. What are your favorites? Do you have any go-to highlighters? I would love to know if you love any of the ones that I love as much as I do. What are your top favorites? Feel free to list a full top 10 or just give me like one or two, whatever floats your boat. If you made it to the end of this video, why don't you leave me some like sparkle emojis, like the little stars. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Helps my channel out a lot. And if you're not already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm BATTYBEAN there as well. Also, if you want to, you can subscribe. I'm posting most days over here. And you can hop over to my second channel if you want some additional content. It'll be linked in my description box for you. And also linked in my description box is a link to my channel memberships. There's a couple different tiers with a couple different perks, and I would love to have you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Okay, bye.